Welcome to CSC Chat, the streaming broadcast that provides a refreshing and insightful look at events, activities, and people within the Chadron State College community. I'm your host, Mekenna Fisher. With us today is the newly hired graduate assistant of the CSC Rodeo team. She's a former CSC Rodeo athlete as well as a part-time photographer and videographer. Ladies and gentlemen, we present BreAnne Benson. BreAnne, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, got a couple questions for you today about your work on the rodeo team. I guess the biggest thing is, how have things changed for you moving from your position as an athlete to now being a coach for the team?
You know, I think the biggest thing, and I appreciated Lane a lot before I was his graduate assistant, but now I see a lot of the behind the scenes, and especially, so our rodeo was the first one of the year, and it seemed like things started a lot earlier this year. So we had very, very little time to get a lot done. And I mean, the amount of things that we accomplished in, maybe just a week or two, that was pretty insane. And so I'm glad I could be there to help a lot on the computer side of things and making up the programs and stuff, take a lot off his plate. But there's a lot more that goes on than the team really realizes. And the thought process behind everything is a lot deeper than they think.
Yeah, so you've obviously got a lot more on your plate now as the coach, but would you say you enjoyed one role or the other more?
My schedule is a lot different. I'm not going to in-person classes every day and then trying to get over to practice and work and juggle all of that. It's been really nice that I consider this a steady job, and so I'm not having to work several others just to get by, with entry fees. And so with that schedule change, I have a lot more free time and a lot more time to dedicate to the team and things that I really love doing. I really like the coaching part of it. I always have. I love helping people. So it's been really fun for me.
Yeah, for sure. What's been your biggest focus as a coach?
As a team, I think we have a lot of winners and we have a lot of really talented athletes. But one of the biggest things has been mentality and just being close friends with a lot of the athletes, as I competed with 75% of them, just making sure that we practice that winner's mentality when we're at practice, when we're at rodeos, when things aren't going good. The biggest thing has just been mentality, and horsemanship is really important for me as well. And so little things that I can help. Before I came, Brandy Shack was the graduate assistant, and those are some really, really big shoes to fill. So I try to take her advice and make sure I'm sharing that with, the ones that didn't get to have her as a coach as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great that you could take what you learned and apply it to your new position. What do you feel has been your biggest accomplishment while being the coach?
I've had a lot of private conversations with some of the team members, and just it's the little things like someone telling me, hey, I feel like I've really gotten better within these last 2 weeks, or like I've seen a lot of improvement, or I feel a lot better about this, and it's something that we've been specifically working on. I feel like my biggest accomplishment is getting feedback from them and, that positive feedback of, hey, this is actually working, hey, this helped. Especially, there was some insecurity going into it, of being just graduated and coming from being an athlete. It's kind of hard to step into that position of authority. So just knowing that I am helpful feels like a huge accomplishment to me. And every time I see them succeed, I get so excited.
Yeah, for sure. It's great that you have those connections with your former teammates. Has that been strange at all for you? Because you were just on the team, so most of the kids that you're coaching now, you competed with just last year.
It was a little strange to start, and there was definitely a difference between the freshmen and the transfers that came in that didn't ever compete with me versus working with the athletes that I was, on a team with last year. So there's relationships that are definitely a lot closer, but it's been fun just to see the difference and, still seeing everyone improve. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about how you have more time for your work and everything. So you actually have a photography business. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that started in 2021. Well, that's kind of when I got the idea for it. I was taking a photojournalism class with Michael Kennedy, a former professor here, and he was hard. He was really tough, and I would go and get my assignments done at the college rodeos just because that's what I had time for. And I'd come back and I'd show him pictures that I was really excited about, and he kind of looked at me and told me what was what, and what wasn't good, and there was a lot of it, but I loved his feedback, and having someone really push me that direction made me work harder for it. And I remember I was working on one of my final projects for a class, and all of the pictures that I'd used were my own, and he kind of stopped me, and he's like, these are magazine quality. Like, you're doing a really good job, and that kind of opened my eyes that, hey, maybe this thing that I actually love could be a source of income for me. And it grew from there. I started having just friends ask, where could they buy the pictures that I'm taking at rodeos? And I was really hesitant about starting that because I didn't want people to be paying for something that I know I'm going to look back in 10 years and think that wasn't that good. So it started out slow, and then it's built, and I've got the opportunity to work with some really amazing mentors, and it's just taken off from there. So now I've done pictures and videos for weddings and pro rodeos, and I've had stuff up on big screens and published in magazines, and it's just been, it has been a really interesting journey, that's for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any big goals you're working towards with that business?
I definitely want to be in a place in life eventually where I get to work for myself and I get to make my own schedule. Just my goal is that whatever I do, I love what I do. And this is something that I really do love. So if I can make a full-time living out of it at some point in time, that would be the goal. But I do think it's really cool to have the ability to help people. I see photography and, the videography side of things as an opportunity to show people how I see them through my eyes, and, how some people might be struggling with self-confidence or they don't see themselves in a certain way. It's a really cool opportunity to show them kind of, how talented they are or how, beautiful they look. Especially, I see it a lot in shoots with girls, they kind of will sit and turn I didn't know I looked like that or something like that. And it's just those little things that if you can boost their confidence, it's a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously that takes up a lot of time, plus you're coaching, plus you're still in school. So how do you balance all of that?
That's a really good question. I don't really know how I get by through it, but between the coffee and some late nights, it all seems to work out. Things balance, and there's lulls where I get all my editing done, so I have more time for school. I'm really lucky that all of the grad school at Chadron is online, so it definitely allows me a lot more freedom, and you take less classes as a grad student per semester. So, it's busy, it's a lot to maintain, and it's hectic, but it always seems to work out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, BreAnne, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your answering all these questions. It was good to get to know you a little more. And we'd like to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in to this exclusive CSC Chat interview.